And that takes me into the issue of the budget. Obviously, budget controversy has been something that we've seen quite consistently between the executive and the legislature under this administration. When you look at some of the projects that were said to have been cut in the 2018 budget, we look at the East-West Road, the Second Niger Bridge, Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, and many other very critical roads around the country. How much will those cuts affect the execution of those projects?
Well, let me say first of all that budget disagreements are not unique to Nigeria. They are part of the areas of conversation between the executive and parliamentary arm in many parts of the world. What they have done in some places where they have been more successful has been to find compromise and consensus. And as you see, over the last 3 years or so, I think that we're getting better. Yes, if you cut a budget of any department or ministry, what will really happen is that the plans will be affected significantly or minimally, depending on the cut. If you cut your housekeeping budget, some things will give, obviously. And therefore, you become more inventive and creative. You have to find ways to get done what can be done within the budget. And I think also what I have tried to do is that whatever you give me, I will run with it and demonstrate what I can do in the hope that in the next budget cycle, you will be persuaded to give me more.
There are people already asking questions here, and I'm going to take a few of them. Obiawe Peter is saying, please, can you ask the minister the situation of the Amukpe-Agbo Road in Delta State? He says the company has stopped working. You also have here, beg your pardon now, Ima Okafor, who says, please help me ask the Minister of Power Works and Housing the state of Calabar E2 Road Dualization Project. And you also have here Senyon Larry Jonah, who says, dear Minister, please, Okokomaiko-Badagry Expressway is in shambles and commuters are in distress daily. I don't know which one of this you want to take first.
Okay, Okokomaiko is part of the Lagos-Abidjan Highway. Lagos State started parts of it from the Erikmo Junction, I think, in 2010. What we've tried to do now is to take over the portion that is not under contract by Lagos. I think that is from somewhere from kilometer 20 towards Badagry. And I think that we managed to persuade Parliament to appropriate for that. We are now trying to undertake the procurement, get BPP's approval to approve that to start.
So you're saying it will get some attention soon?
Oh yes, oh yes. I signed off the approvals to go to BPP a couple of days after the budget. The Calabar tour, I think that is under contract to Julius Berger, if I remember correctly, and I think that they are on site. It may not, you see, again, people have to understand the way modern construction takes place is not the traditional way of mixing cement on the site. A lot of work is done backstage. Then, when do they get funding? The first thing contractors do when they get funded is to pay their suppliers, people who supply the granite, the laterite, the sand, the cement, and move it to their batching plants, and therefore start to mix, start to prepare concrete and all of that. So ultimately, by the time you see them on site, half of the road is done and they start installation.
Yeah, but for some people like to still see their presence if they have started work.
Yes, you will see that.
They begin to get worried when they don't see them again.
Oftentimes, what first happens is that you will see our contractors beginning to demarcate, beginning to peg, and then while batching work is going on, supplies are coming. They don't keep all of the materials they use in store. They order them when a contract is awarded. And it also takes time in the mines to produce all of this. It's man-hour job, labor, to produce the sand, to produce the rocks, to produce all of this before it is transported hundreds of kilometers, depending on how close the source of material is. And they also need bitumen, they need grease, they need oil, they need to also move equipment from one site, or in some places import fresh equipment. This is how construction goes on.
So that's the Calabar
Road.
Yes, the
I don't recall now. I honestly can't recall now. We have hundreds of roads we are building in every state, and I will check that, and maybe I can pass it on to you.
Of course, more people are asking the status of Benin-Auchi Expressway.
Benin-Auchi to Okene. Our contractors are there, and they're working. The biggest challenge they have at the moment is the hill, because we're not trying to realizing they have to level the hill there. So that's a lot of man hours and machines. I was there, I think, earlier in the year, I think around February or March, I was there. And they have funding support through the Sukuk. So work has resumed there. And we've appealed to all of our contractors as much as possible during the rainy season on sections where we haven't completed our work. They should try and make them as motorable as possible to ease the movement of commuters.
Honorable Minister, before we go on to the power sector, I just want to ask you very quickly, one of the regions that has kind of been, I don't know how to put it, let's just say it has been neglected in some ways over the past few decades, has been southeastern Nigeria. You're looking at the Second Niger Bridge, Enugu-Port Harcourt Expressway, Aba-Port Harcourt. What is the level of completion on those projects, and when do you expect those projects to be completed finally?
Our contractors are on site on the Second Niger Bridge, Enugu-Port Harcourt, Enugu-Onitsha, and many other roads. We just awarded a couple of roads last week also, and the President has inaugurated a presidential infrastructure fund, which essentially seeks to focus on concentrating on certain critical infrastructure. Second Niger Bridge is one of those projects. The Lagos-Ibadan Expressway is one of those projects, and the Abuja Kaduna-Zaria-Kano is one of those projects. As we go on, more critical projects will get under that funding. But what that funding does is to say that these are national priorities, and as far as funding goes, they will no longer be a challenge. Our contractors will not stop work on those three projects on account only of funding, that there is no cash. Of course, whatever we need and are able to spend, because that funding is now provided, at least for now, depending on what happens as we go on, will depend on what we get by way of appropriation. Now, there are other funding sources. The Sukuk is one, where we have intervened on 25 roads across 6 geopolitical zones. The regular budget appropriation funding also is going on. So what is happening now is that contractors who had been owed 3, 4, 5 years are now getting paid almost on a quarterly basis. One of them told me recently that for the first time in 10 years, he's not owing his bank, and therefore he can go and renegotiate old loans that were pegged at heavy interest. So the economy, as far as infrastructure can drive it, is slowly gaining momentum and heading in the right direction.
Well, I hope